Hi, my name is Philip. I'm a medical doctor, and in this video, I'm going to talk about what I would have done if I had some type of um, issues in my life related to anxiety about the past and the future, any type of relational, any type of fears that is holding me back from doing the things that I want to do with my life. So let's start out with an example. Let's imagine two people. They have more or less the same circumstances because both of their houses has burnt down to the ground. Now from the outside, that might look as these two people have a problem. However, from the inside, if we take a look at these people, we see that person A, he's completely devastated. He clearly has a problem because his house is burned to the ground and he is very afraid about the future. He is devastated because of all the things that he has lost and so on. Person B, however, he's completely happy. He's completely fine. He sees this situation that he's in as an opportunity because now he can rebuild the house in a way that he wants to rebuild it. He knows that he has friends and family that he can trust and that will take care of him under these difficult times, right? So you have two people with the same problem, yet one of them really has a problem and the other person does not really has a problem. He's excited and look forward to whatever this situation is going to bring about. And this example is trying to point to the fact that problems is not what our external circumstances are. The external circumstances is just a situation that we project what we think is a problem onto. So if the thing that you are most afraid of, if that thing would happen to you and you would be completely happy and completely fine, then that thing wouldn't be a problem. So why is it that some people are completely fine in one situation and then another person in the same situation would be completely devastated? As I said, it has something to do with emotions. So emotions, what are they and why do they arise? Well, they are like a signal, and they signal to us when we are under threat. It also gets a bit complicated because we can also resist our emotional experience. The emotion in and of itself is somewhat uncomfortable. And so today we're going to talk about emotions and how they signal threats to us. Because if we experience anxiety, for example, in order for us to experience anxiety, we must believe that we are under threat. And this goes with any other emotion, more or less. If we experience fear, anger, and so on, we must think that there is some external force that is threatening us. In modern society, those external forces more or less means other people. But people experience anxiety when there are no other people around. So what is that about? They experience anxiety because the body and the emotional reaction cannot differentiate between an actual situation, let's say a human being pulling a knife on us in the streets, or us imagining that that is what's going to happen if we go outside. So the emphasis here is that emotions arise in accordance to perceived threats. And so perceived threats can be an actual person pulling a knife on us, but it can also be an imagined idea about that happening in a certain situation. So what we're going to deal with today is of course not the real threat, because if there is a real threat, an emotional response is of course appropriate and needed to protect us from that danger. But in 99% of cases, people experience emotions, anxiety, fear, anger, and so on, when there isn't a real threat there, even though we are completely certain that the threat is real. So let's say, for an example, somebody insults us. We experience that as a real threat, but an insult isn't a real threat. If somebody says something that might very well be because they have a problem of some sort, or they don't even mean to insult us. We just interpret it as an insult, and then we react as if we're actually being threatened. So the threat is not real in the sense that our physical body is being threatened. What is being threatened is the image that we hold about of ourselves. So what is it that we must believe in order for us to experience emotions? Well, there's only 4 things that we can believe. This is what our nervous system is looking for, and it's like scanning our environment, including our thoughts, for this perceived threat, right? And those 4 things is that we're either being attacked, we're being abandoned, we're being left, or we're being manipulated. And these core 4 things, notice that this is just a description, so this is just categories. But the categories are real insofar as it maps onto our nervous system. So the parasympathetic response, when we feel fear and anger or anxiety, whatever, is in correspondence to these 4 categories. Now, I've met several different people that is going to say, but yeah, but that doesn't cover everything. Well, it actually does, because if you look deeper, you will always find that it's one of these 4 core things that you believe. And at the root of those core 4 things is that you are alone. Let me give you an example. If somebody thinks that, well, I actually want to be in control, that's why I experience these emotions. Well, you only want to be in control because you think that if you're not in control, somebody is going to either attack you, abandon you, ignore you, or manipulate you. So you then might say, but well, it's not about other people. I hate myself. Well, that's also just about other people. You cannot hate yourself. You think that you need to put that pressure on yourself to hate yourself or dislike yourself in order for other people to not attack you, abandon you, ignore you, or manipulate you. So we cannot actually hate ourselves. That's just an internalized response to what other people have done to us in the past if we were ourselves. So you are afraid to be yourself because what you think that other people is going to do to you when you are. So all emotional responses is responses to what in some terms could be called trauma. By trauma, I don't necessarily mean that something super bad happened to you or that you were abused or anything to that extent. I just mean that some emotion arose in you that you were not allowed to have or experience as a result of the other person somehow elicited a response in you that you interpret as you were under threat, meaning you were being attacked, abandoned, left, or manipulated. That's it. And so since these wounds, they happen in relationship, and it's because there was disconnection in the relationship that we had when we were kids, the fastest way to heal this is through relationship. So in order for us to restore our nervous system, we need to find another person that is willing to listen to us, that is willing to share their inner experience with us, and that is willing to listen lovingly to us when we share our inner experience. So when we tell them who we are, what our needs are, this person is trustworthy enough for them to hold us in whatever our needs and emotional experience are. This doesn't mean that if you have a need, let's say I have a need for closeness, I have a need and I want the other person to do something for me. It doesn't mean that the other person necessarily needs to fulfill that need for me, other than it can it doesn't have a problem with me having that need. And this is actually key. The disconnection doesn't happen because we have a need for something, or that we want the other person to do something for us or not do something for us. The disconnection happens because we think or we believe that we cannot share that with the other person. But the thing is, we can share the fact that I want to have sex with you as a need for closeness. But the other person doesn't need to have sex with me just because I want that. But the other person can accept the fact that that is what I want and that is my need. So, in order for us to heal, we must figure out what it is that we believe that the other person is going to do to us, if we are the way that we are, and if we express what we think and feel to the other person. And so we do this by engaging in connection with the other person, and we speak from the feeling that we have. So it's important to notice here that the belief is not the conscious belief of anything. The belief is sort of the pre-verbal experience that makes us feel and think the way that we feel and think. So if I didn't think that you were going to attack me, then I wouldn't feel fear, if that makes sense. So it's not that I necessarily have a conscious experience of that this person is going to attack me, but I have an emotional response as if that is what I believe. So how do we figure out what it is that we believe? We must reverse this process, and luckily we're adults now, so we can allow the emotional experience to speak. So how this looks in conversation is that we engage with the other person, we speak to them, and then we speak from the place of the feeling that we're having right now. Now, this might be confusing because for most people, we will then start to go into the past and the future. I think that you're going to do this to me, or I think that I feel this because of what happened to me in the past. But the beautiful thing about this technique is that the past and the future is something that we're experiencing right now. So this projection, this belief, is actually active and present in your experience right now. It's just because it's a pre-verbal response to something that happened to you. We don't clearly see this, but our whole life is governed by this belief. So we act and think in correspondence to this belief. So if we reverse this process, we speak from the feeling. We can begin by saying, I feel fear. And then we figure out what of these 4 beliefs is it that I hold about the other person. And then somebody might say, but yeah, it's not about the other person. It's about that person that I'm in the future is going to meet. Well, that person is not here. So the only person that can actually attack, abandon, leave, and manipulate you is the person that you have in front of you. So make sure that you're in a safe place, because otherwise you will react to all the people that are around you, so that you can use the other person as a surface to project what the belief is onto. Once you figure out what it is that you believe the other person is going to do to you, you can ask the other person, are you attacking me? And the other person is going to respond, and when they say, no, I'm not attacking you, you must keep asking the question until you believe them. And what's going to happen here is that you will see that, well, the belief that I held wasn't true. So the projection is going to be revealed, and you will begin to hopefully feel some relief. Now, even if the person is not attacking you right now, you might still believe that, well, there is something that can make you attack me, and that has something to do with me. So you must figure out what need it is that you have that could make the other person attack you. And essentially, there is only 2 needs that you can have. And these is also just categories, and they are overarching categories that explain our behavior. So the first need is what I've talked about before, is the need for closeness. And need for closeness is not I need a hug. It is the need or the category of needs that has to do with you wanting things from the other person. So it could be as simple as, I want you to vacuum. That is a need for closeness. If you feel experientially what it's like to want somebody else to vacuum for you in order for them to satisfy some discomfort in you, you feel that it's the leaning towards the other person. It's a felt sense of closeness. I want this person to come and do this for me so that I can feel good. So it can be anything. It can be having the need for the other person to vacuum. There's many other things. Eating food as a form of relieving craving is a need for closeness many times. So people who are overweight, for example, they oftentimes have suppressed their need for closeness, and they are overeating as a correspondence to the need for closeness that they can't see that they have a need for closeness. The need to be seen, to take up space. Yeah, of course, the need for physical closeness. People who go to prostitutes, that's a suppression of one's need for closeness. So rather than having to ask another person for closeness, you pay someone to satisfy that need, but it's not real connection. So the need is going to be continuously perpetuated, and you have to get more and more and more and more in order to satisfy that need. So that's the need for closeness. And the other need is the need for distance, or the need for, you can also say, autonomy. So meaning that I just have the need to be myself, or I want to get away from you. If the other person you think that the other person demands something of you, you want distance. But it can also be that the other person is not overtly or directly demanding something of you, but you feel that they are judging you if you were to act in the way that you wanted to act. So that's the need for autonomy, to be yourself, or to have space from the other person. And so you might not believe that they're attacking you right now, but you believe, if I express my need for closeness or my need for autonomy and distance, the person might attack me. So then you have to ask the other person, so would my need for closeness make you attack me? Now the other person, if they don't have a problem with your need for closeness, they will respond no. And then you have to ask them until you actually believe them, or until whatever is between you has been openly shared. Then, even if you believe them that they won't attack you because you have a need for closeness, you might still believe that it's something about them that has nothing to do with you. You can actually express your need for closeness to them, and you don't think that they will attack you because of that. Then it can be about them. What is it that they must be suppressing? What need is it that they have that they can't express to you? And it's the same thing for them, of course. They can only have two needs, but since it's you who are afraid, you must express what it is that you believe about the other person. So if you believe that the other person is suppressing their need for autonomy and distance, then you must ask them, are you suppressing your need for autonomy? Are you suppressing your need for distance? I think that you could be suppressing your need for distance, and that could make you attack me. And then the other person might say, no, I'm not. And hopefully you'll believe them. Otherwise, you will have to ask them until you do. And it's not that they necessarily need to respond yes or no, because even if they do, then you can clearly see that it has nothing to do with you. Because in order for you to think that you're being attacked, if it's not a physical attack, if it's just some words being uttered, you must still believe that those words or that expression, that attack, has something to do with you. But if you now can see that, well, it's actually them who is suppressing something, they are afraid to express their need, and that's why they might attack me. That has nothing to do with me. So then you see that this attack, they are not actually attacking me, right? And so this is the whole algorithm. This is what you need to figure out, because once you see that this anxiety arose because I believed that I was being attacked, then you clearly recognize that it was a projection, it was a figment of your imagination. What happened to you in the past that made you believe that you were being attacked was, of course, something that somebody did to you, and it was real, but this reaction pattern has now become dysfunctional. When you're an adult, you are not in the same position as you were when you were a kid, and so you still react as if you're being attacked, but you are in fact not being attacked, and you can in fact express your experience without being attacked, and you can share your experience with other people. And so this is how you heal your nervous system, because once the nervous system recognizes that, oh, this was actually in correspondence and something that wasn't real, it was in correspondence to my imagination, then the whole thing drops. The whole premise for why you're experiencing anxiety just drops automatically on its own. And you feel instant relief when you truly believe the other person, that they are not attacking you. And that this might take a while, because there are, of course, 4 different things that you can believe. So even if you empty out the fact that you think that you're being attacked because of your need for closeness, let's say, then you can still believe that you're being attacked for your need for distance or your need for autonomy. And then you empty out that as well. You see that, oh, I'm not being attacked neither for my need for closeness or my need for distance or autonomy. Well, I still believe that you might, even if you don't attack me, you might still leave me. So now you have to go through the algorithm again and see, I believe that you're going to leave me if I express my need for closeness? Or are you going to leave me because of my need for autonomy and distance? And then you might still have some anxiety left, but now this time is not because you think that they will attack or leave you. It might very well be because you think that they will ignore you. And for the same reason here, because you have some need, some unmet need that you can't express to the other person. And so then you go through that, and then things can also happen along the way, because it's kind of layered. So you think that, well, they might attack me because of this and this, and now they think that they will ignore me, and then some new layer of experience, some other aspect of your psyche might come back to the attack. So it can take some time to go through these layers, but eventually, or first and foremost, you will see how the mind works when it projects things onto reality. And this recognition, the first time you recognize that what I believed wasn't actually true, can be a very healing experience. Healing in the sense that you recognize that, oh, my mind is not always right. My mind cooks things up in order for it to protect me, but these protective mechanisms has become dysfunctional. And once it sees that and sees how easy it is for the mind to actually heal these dysfunctional patterns of the nervous system, it will bring about a very healing effect to the whole nervous system, because it knows kind of what to do, and it knows that it can find its way back to connection. And once you go through this algorithm and through all the core 4 beliefs, you will eventually have an experience where you feel connected to the other person. So at the core of this, there is the belief that you're alone. It's the belief that you're separate. And we know this because we see that other people can do these things to us, right? They can leave us, they can attack us, they can manipulate and abandon us, right? And then we find our way back to connection. Then we might still say, well, but in the future, you might attack me. So in order for you to say that, you must actually believe that you are alone and that connection can break, and that this person somehow can disconnect from you and attack you. This can also be seen as a means, or this can also be seen in the way that you think about things, because you might think that, well, when we hang up, I'm going to be alone again, and then we will have to find our way back to connection. But just because you hang up and you don't talk to each other, or you leave each other physically, it doesn't mean that the other person doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that connection will have to break. Just because you are by yourself doesn't mean that you're alone. And even if the other person dies, it doesn't mean that you're alone. There will always be people who exist and who you could share your inner experience with, and who would be willing to listen to you, and who would feel connected to you when you actually open up to them. And so there will come a time, if you do these exercises and if you practice this and you recognize how this works in your own nervous system, when you realize that, okay, other people truly do exist and connection does exist. And so, yeah, this is what I do in my work with other people, is that I show them how to do this and what it's like to realize that you're not separate, that you're not alone. And even if you will inevitably get triggered again and believe that you're being attacked, abandoned, left, and ignored and manipulated, once you've had the experience of connection, that connection is real, and you also kind of know how to get back to connection. And so this is actually kind of the starting point for any spiritual practice or any transformation that you can go through. I've of course known several people who has deconstructed some of these perceptual filters that makes us believe that we are alone, sort of prematurely. And I wouldn't say that that's a good idea, because if you have a protective mechanism that makes you isolate yourself because of the difficulties you experience, believing that people are leaving you or attacking you or etc., then your experience can become incredibly uncomfortable, because it gets revealed to you that you have a lot of unresolved emotions that you have been trying to get away from, for example, isolating yourself. So this is why I think meditation for many people is not the best way to start. I think that healing takes place in relationship, in connection to other people. And once you recognize that, well, connection exists, other people exist, I'm not alone, then the deepening of your experience and the sort of recognition of you, who you truly are, to dismantle these protective mechanisms that makes you isolate yourself or that makes you keep believing that you're separate. It's from that starting point that becomes way easier for you to explore in your experience. And so if this is something that speaks to you, you can reach out to me, because I help people with this professionally. So on the other side of knowing what connection is, life becomes completely different from how it is for most people. Most people desperately look for connection, but since real connection is not taking place, they look for it in the trash even. We see that in society in so many levels, where we chase money, we chase status, we chase position, we chase any substitute that we can find for real connection. And we see this also in how, in the state of the world, people who are connected to each other, they don't rape each other. People who are connected to each other, they don't murder each other, they don't bomb each other. All those things happens because people feel separate and alone and disconnected. That's the sole cause for all the atrocities that humanity has committed on itself. People who are connected, they don't actually believe that more money is going to satisfy them, that more status, more position is going to do anything to them. It doesn't mean that you can't work or you can't build a great company or you can't make a shit ton of money. Not at all. But you would certainly not do it in order for you to have more of anything, because once you're connected, life just becomes about exploration and helping others and continuing to marvel at whatever this experience we're all having is, and how it is unfolding. And building great things can definitely be a part of that, but it wouldn't have anything to do with you uh, feeling better about yourself or thinking that you have to do that in order to be good enough, in order to be not bad. So that's why I would encourage anybody to explore this, because um, once your nervous system recognizing the truth of this, uh, the perspective and the outlook of your own life is going to be completely transformed.